The Crow is a remake of the 1980 classic film of the same name, which has a significant reputation as being, as, I won't say sort of haunted or anything, but is renowned for the fact that Brandon Lee died whilst filming it. So automatically The Crow comes with baggage. The premise of the film is a young man who has a history of poor, life decisions and I think drug use and so on, who meets a young woman who comes from a wonderfully privileged background, who also has a history of poor life decisions and drug use. And she has had a terrible experience involving evil people and elements of the supernatural. And the end result is, spoiler, you find it right out at the start, she ends up dead.
I don't even think that's a spoiler. That is the premise.
That is the entire premise of the film.
That's the entire premise of The Crow.
Yeah,
I think it would. They're making a Maverick one if it turns up and the woman isn't dead at the beginning of The Crow.
They're not dead. They both of them end up. I think it's safe to say both of them end up dead.
Yes. Yeah.
And he is sent back to avenge her and to right wrongs. And as such, it goes on a mission to find and punish all of the dreadful people involved in both their murders, but predominantly hers.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully stylistic film. He is played by
Bill Skarsgård,
and she is played by F.K. Twigs.
Mm-hmm.
They are both very beautiful people,
which
I feel is quite, key to it. And it is a very beautiful film. It's stylistic. It utilizes this wonderful imagery of a crow flying around the place with him, and in various places they use light beautifully. The cinematography is quite haunting. I'm
waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. I was kind of waiting for it to finish.
Because the longer you went, it's this and it's nice, and I'm there's a big but. There's a big but coming up.
I was kind of bored. It was the third film in the day we'd seen, admittedly.
Yep.
We'd already seen Quiet Place Part 1 and Blink twice beforehand. So
a nice easygoing fare.
Yeah. And all I could think is, this is beautiful, but I sort of don't care.
But dull.
But it's a bit dull, and it feels like it's been going on for a really long time, even though it's not that long a film.
Yeah.
It's like an hour 50 or something, and I found myself desperately wanting to check my watch to see how much longer it was going to go on for.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, and I wanted to absolutely love it. But I'm not sure that it's a film that needed remaking.
Yeah.
And because the original was fantastic, and there was a sort of poetry to.
Well, this is the thing because of the Brandon Lee Crow, and because of growing up as a Bruce Lee fan, and I remembered being a Bruce Lee fan, I went and heard that Bruce Lee died young, but he has a son, and his son is making movies now, and so I was like totally in the tank for that. And like Brandon Lee's movies, Big Trouble in Little China, probably a terrible film. I love it because it has Brandon Lee in it. And then when you heard everything that happened on the first Crow with Brandon Lee and him dying, I remember watching that film afterwards, and just in my head, it being a brilliant film. I have not gone back to watch it, and it probably might not be objectively a brilliant film, but I don't care. It's a brilliant film, and in my head, it's like, it's untouchable. It's like, if you're going to make this film again, do not dare sully the memory of Brandon.
I think that's how I feel about it as well, that without quite the same level of attachment, but the film is kind of sacrosanct. Films where somebody died whilst filming it, that's a big deal.
but but
that it's sort of it, but it becomes kind of their eulogy.
I,
but they have already made a couple of terrible sequels to The
yeah.
Crow.
Yes,
So so it's
but somehow a terrible sequel is different to a remake.
yeah.
Who played the Crow? It was someone quite, but from the trailer,
It's
it
Bill
just
It was
Skarsgård.
Bill
Bill
Skarsgård, yeah.
Skarsgård. From the
One of the
trailer,
stars.
I
He was
no,
It, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was
yeah.
Pennywise in the It films.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
trailer in this film just
He's the young
totally. Trailers are supposed to attract you. The trailer for this film just put me totally off it.
Yeah.
I was totally wouldn't even bother with it from that trailer.
It's really beautiful and very gory, very gory.
Yeah.
There were
Ooh.
moments where even I went, "Oh, that's a bit unnecessary." All right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but-
I hide behind, cushions for all sorts of things, but blood and gore, that's not a problem. This like, oh,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Well, the thing is, I agree with Sean. I mean, I worried about this film because they've been trying to make this film for years. There have been so many people who've been hired, and then it's gotten to the point where they're building sets, and the film just doesn't happen. And so when they said they were actually going to make The Crow, I was like, okay, cool, good. And then I saw the trailer, and Sean, just like you, I was like, oh no, I think they've biffed it because and for me the main thing was the makeup of the Crow itself, the makeup of Bill Skarsgård in the film. I just kind of thought that looks what that looks like
there's a bit in the
emo
trailer
kid,
where
like
he
emo
goes-
goth.
He goes. There's a bit in the trailer, and it's I don't know if it's spoiled, but he goes, "Oh, you don't know about death or something about hardness or something like that," and he goes, "Oh, but I do," sort of thing. That's in the trailer, but and I just thought, what?
Yeah, also,
Oh, but I do.
Also, the trailer of this looked so similar to another Bill Skarsgård film that's been released in the last year. It's a film called Boy Kills World, and it looks.
Right, have you seen that, Toes? Has it been released?
I think it was released in places, but
It was. I nearly saw that in Thailand because there was a huge poster for it. I thought,
Yeah,
that looks
yeah.
good. And I wish I'd have seen it.
I think it was released here, but it wasn't released in many places. It did not have a wide
Right,
release.
okay.
But I looking. If you watch the trailer for Boy Kills World, and you watch the trailer for The Crow, for this version of The Crow, I'm like, isn't that the same film? It looks like the same film. So yeah, but anyway, so Holly, how many stars would you eventually give the 2024 Crow?
I will give it a 3 because it was beautiful, and I think the beautifulness deserves recognition,
Okay.
but it's a low end
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, I heard.
I'm slightly sad about it.
Well, the thing is, I heard an interview with the director of this, Rupert Sanders, on the Empire Film Podcast, and a lot of things that he was saying, I was like, oh, dude, it sounds like you don't understand what The Crow's about at all. I was getting some serious Zack Snyder in charge of the DC universe vibes from him. Like, where it's like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm like, okay, I understand that's what you're trying to do, but that's not what this is about at all.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Okay,
That's what we
cool.
want to do, but just don't do that.
Yeah. Go do something else. Leave this alone. All right, now let's get